My name is Ava, and I'm 29. I had been waiting for my big break, a moment when my hard work would pay off. I never expected it would come at my father's funeral. Standing there, surrounded by distant relatives whose names I barely remembered, I was blindsided when my older brother, Derek, stood up and revealed a family secret that shattered everything I thought I knew. "You were never Dad's favorite," he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "That was always me." His smug grin made me want to choke. I had mourned this man, my father, a man who had taken his last breath just hours before, and Derek decided to turn the grief into a competition. I looked around, seeing the shock on the faces of everyone present, from my mother, who was sitting in the front row, to the family friends whispering in disbelief. They expected me to break down. They expected tears, drama. They had no idea how much I had prepared for this moment. Growing up, I had always been in Derek's shadow. The golden child, he could do no wrong. I was the steady one, the responsible one. I made sacrifices for my family, putting my aspirations aside to support him when he wanted to chase his dreams. He knew that even when the world around us would collapse, I would remain his anchor. But that day, standing before everyone, I felt a flicker of defiance ignite within me. The ground shifted under my feet the day I received that call. My father had suffered a stroke. I rushed to the hospital, my heart racing not just for his sake, but for the chaos that I knew would come after. My father had always been the cornerstone of our family, but behind the facade of togetherness, lies and deceit thrummed a steady rhythm. My first glimpse of him, frail and lifeless in that hospital bed, shattered something in me. I began to sift through memories, moments of bitterness and longing that I chose to ignore for the sake of family unity. Memories of how Derek had claimed our father's praise for his small achievements, while I worked tirelessly to uphold the family business, even while being disregarded. Weeks passed after my father's death, and the tension in our small family felt almost palpable. Derek insisted on taking charge of arrangements, his smug authority suffocating. I kept silent, letting the resentment simmer beneath the surface, a volatile cocktail of grief, anger, and betrayal. And then came the funeral, an elegant affair in a chapel filled with lavender-scented candles, people dressed in muted tones, yet Derek punctured my reverie with his declaration. "You think you're the favorite just because you were the eldest, please." The words echoed in the hallowed silence, sharp and cold. "Derek, stop it," I whispered, my voice steady, but he just smirked. The much-awaited confrontation was here, and he thought he held all the cards. Adrenaline surged as I stood there, blood pounding in my ears. "You're right," I finally said, drawing everyone's attention. My voice, steady and unwavering, broke through the murmurs. "You may have had Dad's attention in the limelight, but it was my work that held everything together." A few gasps echoed. I turned to the crowd, my heart racing but a sense of clarity washing over me. Dad wasn't just a father, he was my mentor. He taught me the value of hard work, of honesty, and you were too busy pushing me to the sidelines to notice how I saved the family business while you played the golden boy. Derek's face fell slightly, surprise melding with anger. He hadn't prepared for this. It was time to reveal what I had uncovered just days prior, a secret that changed everything. "Did you ever notice how Dad's health began to decline the moment you took over leadership of Whitmore Pharmaceuticals?" I continued, feeling a surge of confidence. "You've been embezzling money from the company." The silence was thick, tension coiling like a snake ready to strike. "I've dug through the financials, Derek. You siphon off funds and put them into your investments. You thought no one would find out." As I spoke, memories of endless nights tallying papers and working on accounts rushed to the forefront of my mind. Derek had always been the showman, but I had taken the time to learn the intricacies of the business, silently ensuring its survival while he squandered the family legacy. "You're out of your mind," he shouted, but I held up my phone, showing the evidence in black and white, a single spreadsheet that would lead to his downfall. "You had to keep the funds flowing to maintain your lavish lifestyle, didn't you?" I said, my voice now tinged with a mix of sorrow and bravery. My mother's eyes betrayed her fear, and for a moment she looked almost proud. The truth was a weapon, and I wielded it without mercy. Derek slumped back into his seat, his bravado crumbling. I locked eyes with him. "You're not the favorite, you're just the one who had everything handed to him. I sacrificed my dreams for you, and look where that got me. I am breaking the cycle now." The room began to stir, people murmur. My relatives who had been spectators finally chose sides. They began to realize that the family facade hadn't just shielded us. It had stifled growth, creativity, and honesty. It wasn't just about me anymore. It was about my father's legacy, too. No more lies, no more putting family name above personal truth. The aftermath of that day was a whirlwind. Derek attempted to retain control over the company, but shareholders began to question him. The police began their investigation into the financial discrepancies. He had finally pushed a mother bear out of her cave, and I was ready to defend my territory. Months later, I found myself in a conference room, now the interim CEO of Whitmore Pharmaceuticals after Derek was ousted. It felt surreal. I was overseeing my father's legacy, rebuilding it brick by brick, piecing together the shattered remains with the love and integrity he instilled in me. I took a moment one evening, staring at the view from the corporate office window. I remembered standing beside my father at my childhood home, him teaching me how to ride a bike on those uneven streets, the warmth of a summer evening, and the promise of brilliance in the dusk. Now I stood taller. I was not just my father's daughter, I was a force. During a small celebration after the first quarter was a success, I turned to my old friends who had stuck by me throughout the turmoil and said, "I remember a moment that felt like an ending, but it turned into a new beginning." That's what loss does. It provides clarity. This time, in this new chapter, I was finally free to create the life I wanted. With every decision, I honored my father's memory, an honest, beautiful legacy I had always sought to preserve. It was my turn to write the story the way I wanted, and it started with embracing the truth. I understood now, like the phoenix rising from the ashes, that sometimes family ties can bind you too tightly. Breaking free to find my voice meant stepping into my destiny.